So, so yeah. Well, thank you for doing this. It's a big thrill. I really enjoyed the album. So,
Thank you.
and it's just about to be released like tomorrow or something, right?
Yeah, Friday. Yeah,
Well, tomorrow is Friday here.
that's true.
So, so the album is called Ignorance, and give me a little bit of an overview of kind of what brought you to make this record the way it is. Just get started here.
Yeah, I mean, I think like from a sound perspective, I
Yeah,
just got excited about embracing a lot of things that I'd been too afraid to use in songs before. Like, I just was excited about like classic songwriting and, what I would call pop music, by which I mean like music that anyone can latch onto and that's like approachable and accessible and also like new wave and yeah, I just sort of assembled this vision in my mind that was like a very propulsive, like rhythmic, muscular record, but with like a very organic, vulnerable, uh, living, sort of passionate sensibility. So
right.
that was my the two things that I wanted to merge, and then yeah, emotionally, like it was just coming from a place of trying to understand the world. I
Well,
guess
that's good. Well, how long ago did you write the songs? Because the world has changed significantly in the past few months.
it has. Yeah, it's interesting. It's been really cool because people have been finding the record so relevant, and yet I did write it like 2 years ago,
Right.
like 2 whole years ago. But I think that the pieces are the same.
Gotcha.
um, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I read somewhere that you started writing on a keyboard rather than a guitar for this one. Did that have an effect on the ultimate outcome, or was it just a different way of working for you?
Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, the way I play guitar is very idiosyncratic. Like I play in open tunings. I'm primarily like a fingerstyle guitarist,
Right.
and that sort of locks you into a certain sound and certain rhythms. And especially playing in open tunings, like I love open tunings, but um, yeah, it just leads you in a certain direction, and I felt just a bit bored with myself. Every time I picked up guitar, I just felt like I knew I'd done it before. It wasn't interesting. And when I started writing on keyboard, I just felt this immediate sense of freedom and release of like being freed of my habits and
Right.
freed of my melodic tendencies. And yeah, like rhythm was the biggest thing that changed also, because playing fingerstyle guitar or strumming guitar is like leads you to a certain rhythmic place, but playing piano, I mean, all you're doing is marking out the chords, and it changed how I wrote melodies, I think.
Uh-huh. Now the band itself is a fairly large ensemble of like five or six
Hmm.
people, I think. So how do you present what you've written to the band, and how do you guys work out ultimately what ends up on the record?
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of a muddy process. Like I didn't really know. I'd never really made a record with a band. Like the self-titled record was a trio. It was
Right.
like me, bass, and drums, and then overdubs. So yeah, it was a whole new process. And I at first I tried making these like MIDI arrangements and forcing everyone to play like what I had written on MIDI.
Right.
Um, or like various like keyboards and synthesizers and stuff. And I thought, that I would maybe make the whole album that way, like totally planned out and then just getting people to execute. But luckily, I realized that was ridiculous. Though I did have like one or two songs that, the arrangement did definitely flow, or
Right.
several of the songs, like the arrangement flowed from those original little demos. But yeah, it was a really nice. It was just sort of like through the fall and winter of that year, I just got together with this band that was sort of shape shifting as people, went on tour and like couldn't come anymore. And then, people came and went from the core group.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, a lot of it was just like the piano part that I had and the drum part that, like, I wrote a lot of the songs with a drum machine. So a lot of it was like me forcing Kieran to play the same thing as the drum machine was playing.
And how did that go over?
He's great. He's patient. He was chill about it. He was like, so you really want me to play like a disco beat? And I was like, yeah, I do.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, he changed many of the rhythms in beautiful ways and like made it all better. And
Gotcha.
especially like the songs that had that I'd written to the same beat, you know.
Yeah.
The band did a really good job of
Mix it up a little bit. Now I see you've just released a new video for a song called Parking Lot, which my understanding is it's kind of a love song to a bird. So tell me about making the video and tell me about writing the song.
The song is just a moment. I mean, it's a very humble, vulnerable moment of, you know, the feeling that you have when you encounter non-human life and really understand that. And I think I was engaged in that encounter, you know, but it's always fraught, I think, to like encounter non-human life because it forces you to reckon with the way in which that life is threatened, you know, by us. So yeah, it's a very humble song, but I think that's the deeper feeling that makes it feel so passionate. In terms of the video, I'm actually wearing the outfit I wore in the video because I'm about to go do this Instagram live thing. But
oh, cool!
I don't normally go around wearing my like video costumes.
Come on!
But yeah, it was just once again like I had made these like high concept videos that were very like, you know, I had organized everything and arranged every piece of the video to be like conceptually right. And for Parking Lot, I just was really struggling like to come up with an idea. I had written all these like treatments and, you know, some of them were quite elaborate but I felt like I was just, it wasn't quite right. And it was also quite tricky because it was like winter had come, you know, it's winter here and it's like harder and harder to shoot outside and like ask all these people to come and be on the crew and, you know, be a part of it. It was a little easier in September to accomplish that. So my collaborator, Adam Crosby, who's a cinematographer, he just was like, had this idea of like, why don't you just walk away from camera and I'll follow you? And I was like, that doesn't sound very interesting, but sure, let's go shoot that. And then somehow like we did a test shoot and we were like, I think this is a video. And then we had actually planned to have all these different moments that we would cut between, and the shot of me walking on the beach was just like one of the shots that we were going to use just a small piece of.
Right.
And I actually was like, can I just like do the whole song and just see what happens? And then we did that like take, and then we both were like, I think that's the video, and we like watched it back like on the beach, and then we're like, yeah, that's the video. Let's just go home.
Job done.
So
Mission
it was
accomplished.
kind of great. Like it was after so much, like I've been so meticulous in everything about this album, like so much work, so much meticulousness. And I was just kind of grateful to just have something just work and not have to think about it. And I think it actually like, I'm really proud of the video. I think it captures something really, the bittersweet emotion of the song. In a way that like if it's just a song it wouldn't be as good, so I'm very proud of it.
Cool. Now you mentioned that you're wearing the suit that you wore in the video. I must admit I was secretly hoping that you were going to wear the shiny mirror suit that you wore in the robber video.
Yeah.
Just casually around the house, you know.
I do not wear that for any reason.
Is it hanging in your closet though?
It is hanging in my closet.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like I don't have much storage space in my apartment, so it's like with the extra coats.
Right, I can imagine. Now another song I wanted to kind of touch on was Heart, because from what I read, you were a little reticent about putting it on the record because you felt rather vulnerable. Is that something that you kind of a process you go through when you're deciding what you're going to do and when you're writing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, heart is like it's those are the kind of lyrics that I usually rewrite. You know, like I'm the diary lyrics might be the first thing that comes out, and then I usually will make it more thoughtful because I don't think that I'm that interesting. You know, like I need to make sure that the lyrics stand as a piece of work, you know,
Right,
and
right.
have a purpose to exist. But you know, that song, yeah, I really wasn't sure what to make of it, but I find with that song, it's like when I listen to it and I give myself over to it and I stop criticizing it, it's actually like really moving. And many people I know had that experience with it, you know, when I sent them mixes or whatever. And I know that I know it's because, you know, it does say something really critical. And it is, you know, even though it is so obvious, it's not. And I think, I mean, I love the band on that song. It's a beautiful improvisation. Um, Especially at the end where they just kept playing.
Right.
And like I think they played for like maybe a couple minutes after the end of the song, and I really loved that. And yeah, it's I've come around to feeling like it's actually a really important song
Hmm.
to have on the record. It felt key to the record.
Very cool. Very cool. And from what I understand, Where was the first song that you kind of wrote in the process of putting this record together? So how far
Yeah, that
back
was
does
like a
that go?
slightly older song. Like I'd written it in the summer previous to when I wrote all the other songs.
Right.
And yeah.
And you kind of rejigged it. It was originally released as a single, and then you kind of.
Yeah, like I wrote it. I got asked to do like a collaboration with one of my favorite artists, Jennifer Castle,
Uh-huh.
for like a Polaris that for Polaris Music Prize. Like they do these promotional special, I don't
Yep.
know, special singles. And so I had been asked to do a collaboration with Jennifer, and I had just written that song like maybe a couple days before, or maybe even I don't think I'd even finished it. I just had written part of it, and I went down to her house and we were trying to write a song together. And I was like, well, I have this like piece of a song, and I played it for her, and she was like, let's like you just should finish your song and
Right.
and let's just record it because it's really great. You know, she was a champion of the song, and I really, you know, hearing it from her, I was like, okay, it's a good song. So we recorded it, but then I did rewrite like some of the lyrics and the chords that changed from the OG version.
Gotcha.
And yeah, and it wound up being like it's kind of my favorite song lyrically on the record. So
Uh-huh.
I'm glad it's there.
There we go. And one other one I want to touch on was Tried to Tell You, which I believe I read that you sang it live in the studio with the band, and then there's a video again shot in the woods that you directed. So. What when you work in the studio with the band, are you kind of all in the same room playing together, or is there a lot of overdubbing, or is it a mix of both?
I mean, for this record, we went to a studio that has a lot of booths, and I've
Right.
always been like anti-booths. Like I'm like, you can't feel, but that was just because I hadn't played with the right musicians yet. So part of the joy of us being all in booths was that we could play very freely and do improvise and try things out, and knowing that I could then do subtractive editing after the fact. So if you made a mistake, you know, it wasn't going to ruin the whole take in the way that like if we were really live off, you know, all in one room. So yeah, we just did like live off the floor in booths,
Right.
so that we kind of had that insurance. But the band was so good, they didn't make mistakes. So there were times where, like, in the mix process, like I might take like a bit of someone's performance from one take and put it on the
Right.
other take,
Sure.
but or like just, I did do a fair bit of subtractive editing of like taking things out.
Right.
Yeah, like what you hear mostly is the band playing on the day, and then I did do some overdubbing. The strings are overdubbed, obviously. They were written after, I mean, in some cases, like I kind of had written the arrangement before we recorded the song.
Right.
um and then yeah, like there's some just like little things that I overdubbed at home. But I really try to avoid overdubbing too much, because
Yeah.
I wanted to capture the moment.
And how do you know when you have the right vocal take? Do you get a feedback from people in the engineers, the other musicians, or you kind of leave it up to yourself?
I mean, it's pretty important, the vocal take.
Yeah.
It's very important. I listen to myself primarily.
Uh-huh.
A lot of the vocals wound up being overdubbed, like maybe like 70% of them.
Sure.
And yeah, because vocals are incredibly important.
I'd say so.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm very sensitive about vocals. Like, I'm really sensitive about the vocal performance, and like there were some, like, even like Robber, I was in Montreal and like we like mixed the song, like it was done, and I like actually wound up like surreptitiously going back to the studio in Toronto and like re-recording the vocals. And again, because I had sang it originally with too much energy, and I realized that it needed to be more calm.
Uh-huh.
And that was, I'm like happy I
Right.
did that, because it was like totally the right call. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, vocals are everything. I think they're the most important thing.
Exactly. So the record's almost out.
Mhm.
How are you feeling? What are you going to do to promote it? What can you do other than talk to schmucks like me? As far as getting the word out there, are you doing any gigs?
Yeah, like we have a live stream gig. We have one gig,
Very good.
which I think will go up March 11th.
Oh, good.
Which, unless we aren't able to get together because of the COVID situation here.
Right.
Right now the numbers are declining, so we're crossing our fingers. But yeah, we have a gig, which is basically like, it's basically going to be a concert film. Like it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I really want to put a lot into it and a lot of love into it.
Yeah.
And then yeah, like there's a few sessions we're getting asked to do. So it's sort of like we're doing our press tour and our tour from home, essentially. And yeah,
I guess it saves fuel, if nothing else.
it saves a lot of fuel. That's something I'm feeling really good about, actually.
Yeah. And have you started thinking about what you're going to do next, as far as the release and songs and new stuff, or is that?
Yeah. I've got the next thing in my pocket.
Oh, good on you.
Just waiting for the right time to let it out.
All right. Very good. Well,
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear that. And good luck with everything. And
Cool.
hopefully even come down to New Zealand sometime. We're actually fairly COVID free down here. We can go to gigs.
I know, you guys are like, everyone in the world is like, why aren't we New Zealand? Yeah.
Well, it helps being a tiny island.
Yes, very far away from the rest of the world.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you very much. And good luck with everything then.
Okay, thanks.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.